Hello, good evening, good afternoon, g'day. My name is Matthew and I am from How to Play the Sax. And today what I wanted to do just quickly is show you very quickly the main types of saxophones that are available for you, the budding saxophonist, to use and enjoy. So what are the main types of saxophones? Well, actually there are 8 different types of saxophones, and here I've got 3 of the 4 main types. So types of saxophones, the smallest is called the Sopranino, and the Sopranino is very tiny. It's only about, yay big, very high. There's not many of them, fairly rare. Sopranino saxophone, you can get them in straight form, you can get them in curved form like a more traditional saxophone shape. Sopranino saxes, they're not very common. They're not very common, but they do exist. The next, we're going from smallest to largest. Next up is the soprano saxophone. And here is my soprano saxophone. This is a soprano sax. Mine's a straight one. You can get curved ones, which are more of a traditional shape. But this one is a straight soprano saxophone. Soprano saxes are fairly high. They are used in jazz, they're used in a little bit in rock and roll, they're used a little bit in orchestras. Probably the most famous soprano sax of recent times would be Kenny G from the 1980s. He had a song called, what was it called? Songbird, I think. Let's give Songbird a quick go. Give you a little sound of the soprano saxophone. All right, Songbird. Fairly high sound, that's some of the lowest notes on the soprano sax. Here's another song from a show that I've been recently in. Have a listen. There you go, soprano sax. Fairly high, fairly usual. Where do I put my mouthpiece cover? Mouthpiece cover, always good from a saxophone perspective. When you're not playing, put the mouthpiece cover over the mouth to protect the reed. Over the mouthpiece to protect the reed. So, soprano saxophones, fairly high, they're very easy to get. Unfortunately, they're a little bit expensive. But hey, if you can get a good soprano sax, they're awesome. A cheap one can sound fairly not good. They're difficult to keep in tune. Not a good saxophone to start learning on. But if you've been playing the alto saxophone for a while, then perhaps, or if you play the clarinet, go for the soprano sax. But if you're brand new to music, soprano sax is a little bit difficult to keep in tune. So, next on our list of our types of saxophones, this is the alto saxophone. The alto sax is probably the most common of all saxophones, probably because of its size. It's good for kids, 10, 11, 12 years old. They're fairly easy to pick up. They're easy to play. They're relatively cheap. Saxophones aren't overly cheap, disappointingly, but hey, saxophones are awesome. So, alto sax. Alto saxes have been used forever. Alto saxes were used a lot in the jazz era, 1940s, 1950s, 60s they were used in the soul music, 70s and 80s and 90s they used rock, pop, jazz, orchestras, classical, heavy metal. There's an alto sax is a very versatile sax. So if you're a beginner saxophone player, if you're a beginner saxophonist, go the alto sax. Probably the more famous alto sax riff, for want of a better term, is from Baker Street. The song Baker Street, when was that? Early 80s, late 70s? It sounds like this. alto sax. Alto sax, again, fairly high, but not as quite as high as the soprano. Low note on an alto. High note on an alto. Another famous alto sax player by the name of Maceo Parker. Maceo Parker is an amazing saxophonist. He's been playing the sax for many, 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 many years. He was in James Brown's band. He's played with Prince. If you get the opportunity, check out YouTube, Maceo Parker, amazing saxophonist. He had a song called Pass the Peas. Pass the Peas. There you go, alto saxophone. Continuing on our journey of saxophones. Another very, very well-known type of sax is the tenor saxophone. Here we go. Here is the tenor. It is a bigger instrument, comparatively speaking. Here we go. There's the size difference. There's the size difference. So the tenor sax is a lot bigger, therefore it is a lot deeper in sound. Probably the most famous tenor sax song is the Pink Panther song. Sorry if I'm rustling there, the microphone. The Pink Panther song. Pink Panther. So the tenor sax, again used in the jazz era, 1940s, 1950s, used a lot. Again used a lot in the 80s, 90s and 2000s. Rock, pop, jazz, a little bit of orchestra, a little bit of classical. Tenor sax can be used in many, many shapes and forms. If you're a beginner saxophonist, maybe wait until you're 12, 13, 14 years old, because quite simply, it's big, it's heavy. If you're a small 10-year-old, physically your hands won't be big enough. Physically, it will be too heavy. Wait until you're 12, 13, 14 and you've started to grow a bit before you start using the tenor sax. Tenor sax, there you go. Nice and low, can go fairly high. Low notes, high notes. So there you have it. The next of the different types of saxophones. Unfortunately, I don't have one and I really want one. So if anyone wants to give me a baritone sax, sometimes known as Bari sax, that would be awesome. But a Bari sax is even bigger again than the tenor. Bari sax in perspective is probably at least close to double the size of this, maybe half again. So it's very low, it's very deep. Bari saxes are baritone saxes, Bari sax, same thing. Bari saxes are fairly expensive. They're not as well known. You use them a little bit in concert bands and jazz bands and orchestras. They were big in the 1960s with soul and early soul music. Probably a more famous Bari sax solo would be in the Do Run Run song. Met at a party on a Saturday night, the do run run run, a do run run. In the middle of that song, there's a Bari sax solo. Two more saxophones in our types of saxophone list. First one is called the bass saxophone, and the bass saxophone is huge. It is close to my height. I'm 6 foot tall. Bass saxophones are at least 5.5 feet. They're enormous. You need huge lungs, you need big hands. Sometimes you need a stand. They're fairly rare. You don't see them too often. There is an 8th saxophone on the list of our types of saxophones. It is called a contrabass saxophone. Contrabass saxophones are ridiculously huge. They're very rare. You hardly ever see them. If you see someone coming towards you with a contrabass saxophone, please run in the other direction. They are huge. They are ridiculous. They're bigger than 6 feet tall. Very rare. They exist, but hey. So, a quick recap. The 4 main types of saxophones that are available to us mere mortals are, from small to big, the soprano saxophone, fairly high. Nice instrument, not good for beginners, but a beautiful instrument. The alto saxophone, the main saxophone. They are, school kids use them, lots and lots of them. Altos are a good place to start. Next on our types of saxophone, 4 main, the third one is the tenor sax. Tenor saxophones rock. Tenor saxophones are awesome. Tenor saxophones are great beginner saxophones, but a caveat, it's probably best to wait until you grow just a little bit before you get stuck into a tenor, because quite simply they're a bit big and heavy. Next on the list, I don't have one, but a baritone sax, Bari sax to his mates. Baritone's big, deep. They're cool too, but they're a bit on the expensive side. So there you go. 4 main types of saxophones, plus a few bonuses: soprano, alto, tenor, and a Bari sax. Thank you for watching. My name is Matthew. If you need a hand with your saxophone, please visit me at howtoplaythesax.com. Thanks for visiting. My name is Matthew, howtoplaythesax.com. I'll see you in another video. Thanks.